Hey, what's up, world? Checking in for episode 10, the season finale of Culture Conversation. Hi, I'm your host, Mr. TGQ, aka Twin GQ. I'm happy to have you guys here and checking in on our platform. Today, we got a special guest by the name of Toot, none other than your boy, the OG himself. So, we're just going to tap into this unique conversation and get into it. All right, guys. What's up, Justice? My boy.
What's
Yo, what's going on, too? How you doing,
going on,
man?
brother?
Good to
Shoot, am
see
I
you.
too dark right now out here?
Nah, bro, you looking good, dog. You got that
All right.
Mercedes hat on? Jeez.
Yeah, I just came in, played 18 holes in Cambridge just now. That's why I told you I was like, yo, we gotta do it a little bit later because I might not be home in time.
Yeah. No, that's dope, bro. That's dope, man. So I'm just gonna get into it. Before we start, I'm gonna give you a time to introduce yourself to our audience, those that don't know who you are, what you do. So kind of tap into that, and then we'll get into our unique conversation, man.
Oh man, I don't even know where to start when you say like introduce myself, you know?
Yeah,
I'm just the same regular dude like you, bro. I
yeah,
just
for
been a few
sure.
places, done a few things, and that's it.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, before we tap into the sport and business topic, man, I wanted you to kind of get into a little bit of your background story, how you got introduced to the game of basketball and, talking about your career there and then now how you kind of catapult into the business entrepreneurial route. So, I'm gonna let you kind of talk about that.
Shoot, man, that's a long story. I mean, I played every sport as a kid.
Okay.
Just growing up like in a neighborhood. And that's like one of the things that I see that's changing now. I feel like kids don't play a bunch of sports. They're not introduced to a lot of things. Now everybody like wants to specialize. I remember when I was a kid, like I played hockey. That was like my number one sport. And then
Oh,
I found out how expensive it was. I was good at hockey, but I was like, I took my dad to Canadian Tire. We saw the equipment. He was like, yeah, not gonna be able to do it. And
damn.
hockey was deaded.
Damn, that's
So I
crazy.
played hockey, I played baseball, soccer, football, everything. Basketball was like just one of those sports that we all played.
Mm,
And just kind of growing up, I kind of like, especially when the Raptors came to town, like it was like, oh, basketball, like that's what I want to play now.
mm.
And just kind of kept working on the game, and met some good people, some good coaches, and they showed me some fundamentals, and I just kept taking it and kept progressing it to the next level, and it's brought me to places that I could have never imagined that I'd be at.
Yeah, man, it's pretty dope, man. A lot of people might, and I think for a lot of athletes, man, they kind of look at that end result and the gold and the glamour, but they don't see the lessons or the downtime. Going through the trials and tribulations, man. As an athlete, you really gotta kind of keep pushing, and when things are not great, man, are you gonna go with the same work ethic?
Right.
And obviously we've always talked about that grind of trying to get your next contract. When you're grinding, when you don't know when your number is going to get called.
Right.
So obviously talking about that and seeing you now start your new chapter with real estate, man, is something that really inspired me to be more open to different business opportunities and ventures in my acumens. So kind of talk about that and how you kind of transitioned from a professional athlete into the space of entrepreneurship.
Yo, shout out my guy Mark Fiscallo. He was a teammate of mine at York. I seen him
So,
jump on that, so I wanted to give him a shout out.
so
But no, the one of the I think hardest things for athletes at the level I was at, like professional athletes where you're being paid to play the game, is that transition phase is extremely difficult because you've put in so much time and effort throughout your whole life trying to reach this goal, right? Everybody's end goal is obviously the NBA. I obviously never reached that goal, but I reached a goal where I got paid, a decent amount of money to play basketball. And along the way, from I think I played pro 6 years, I would always see some of my teammates, and they were in completely different positions than me. I was fortunate in the position I was in when I went and played pro. I didn't have that many responsibilities. I had a girlfriend, fiance at the time, who's now my wife,
mm,
right? But we didn't have kids. She was doing her own thing, doing major things. So there was like no like true barriers for me to like go and pursue what I wanted to do. I
mm,
would see teammates that had multiple kids, you know, um, that they had to take care of. So every game, like every game matters to me. You know what I'm saying? If I go play in a men's league, that game matters. But I would see them and I would see like little kids that they had to provide for and feed. And if they didn't perform for, let's say, 2 games in a row, they were getting cut, you know? Like, regardless of how good of a person they were getting cut because it's like, you got to perform or we're going to get the next man in line. And so, my pops always told me, like, you're smart if you learn from your own mistakes. You're very wise if you learn from other people's mistakes, or not even their mistakes, their misfortunes. So I would see this happen, and I was always thinking while I was playing, even like in my prime, I was like, I need to be able to transition to something else smoothly. I don't want the game to kick me out of the game. I want to leave the game when I'm ready to leave the game because I'm leaving the game because I have something lined up already. And that was my mentality for a few years. And that's kind of how I got into the real estate game because I was planning while I was playing. I was saying, you know what? I'm going to play. I'm still going to do these courses. I'm still going to build my relationships here so that when I'm ready to leave this game, I got something to hop right into.
Dope. Dope, man.
Yeah.
That's a kind of crazy story because you hear about these overseas guys that go and the imports having a lot of pressure to produce at that level, but not knowing about the localized players that come from
Yeah.
those towns and have families to provide for. And I always say for people that come from developing nations and underdeveloped countries, their why is a little bit greater. You know what I mean? Because they have more at the table than we do. We're coming from first world nations where, our problems aren't as severe or immense as them. So it's crazy that you tapped into that side, man. You know what I mean? But just kind of talk a little bit about like the real estate game in terms of, the opportunity now during COVID. How do you think COVID is shifting the market in terms of market value in Toronto?
So before COVID hit, we were on pace to have an insane year in real estate. Like we're talking like 2017 levels where like a house would come on the market for 2 days and would have 7 offers and would sell for 200K over asking. That's the kind of pace that we were on in January and February before COVID hit. Once COVID hit, obviously, like it took a huge chunk out of our economy. It's taken a huge chunk out of the world economy, period. And so I had multiple people ask me because I'm a realtor. I'm in touch with a lot of people. They were like, "Hey, like, what's going to happen? What's going on?" They were like, the housing market's crashing. I said, no, it's not crashing. It's all that's happening is that everybody that wanted to sell their house because of COVID was scared to let random strangers into their house. So they took their house off the market. And then if you were buying a house, Twin, you're uncomfortable going into someone's house to see it because you don't know what they have.
Okay.
Right? So it wasn't like a price drop. There was just no inventory. So everybody took their houses off the market. All the buyers weren't going out. So, the number of sales dropped. It's not like the prices were dropping. And now, as we've seen the city open up, we're now like the market is super hot again. You're seeing multiple offers. Places are coming on the market. Less than a week, they're gone. I told my clients, like, once we hit phase 1 of COVID, where we started to open things back up, I said, hey, you have like a 2-month window here that buyers have not had in a long time to take advantage of. Buyers had it initially when they came in with the stress test because not as many people were qualified. And buyers have it now with COVID because people want to sell. There's not as many buyers. So there's small windows of opportunity. And this is one of them right now that's not going to last very long. It might last for another month. After this month, it's going to be back to regular scheduled programming, Toronto real estate through the roof, and you're going to be locked in.
Oh, man, that's dope. I mean, that's always the goal of mine, man. In the next couple of years or so to kind of really lock in a property in my hometown and obviously in Toronto. I know the market is always hot and the prices are going up like hotcakes, So what is some advice you could give to, a young entrepreneur like myself or other entrepreneurs out there that are looking to invest into their first property? And,
I would say you don't have to invest in Toronto. The key is to get a property. So one of my closest friends actually, who's done very well for himself now in real estate in retrospect, The first property he bought was 5 hours outside of Toronto, and it was like $100,000. But he made, and he bought it because he was at the university. So he said, you know what? If I'm able to buy it, why don't I buy it? And I'm going to live here, and then I'm going to rent it out to 4 or 5 other people. So the whole time he was in university, he had already bought a property that he had other roommates paying for, and the value of the property was appreciating. He then took that appreciation that he got from that property and then brought it to Toronto, then bought something in Toronto, which also appreciated. So it's like you just got to start somewhere. You got to get yourself into the market. You know, that's the key, getting yourself into the market.
Okay. So for you personally, is obviously now having a family, you know what I mean, and raising a family in, inner city or, a good suburban area. Do you think it's a better opportunity that you can live in Toronto, or do you have a better opportunity to raise a family outside of a city like Toronto, from your personal opinion or perspective?
From my personal perspective, I had no intention of ever leaving the city. Once COVID hit and we were about to go into quarantine, my wife and I made the decision, like, we live right downtown by the water. We were like, yo, we got to bounce because we can't stay in our, 700 square foot condo for 4 months with a baby boy. Like, that's not feasible. So we left like right before lockdown, and now seeing how much space we have, like, it's completely changed my perspective on what I'm looking for in terms of like where I want to raise a family. It's been eye-opening, to be honest. So yeah, I might be a suburb guy now.
That's what's up, bro.
Real talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, real talk.
Yeah, bro. So we're gonna kind of tap in a little bit to social justice talk. Obviously we're facing two, revolutions in America, and I just wanted to, talk to you about your thoughts on, the whole, police brutality stuff, the systemic racism talk, and the protesting in America. Just like, where do you stand on it, and how do you feel about what you've seen in the media and in the public?
I mean, this takes me back like a long way back, because one of the first courses I took in university, that was probably one of my favorite courses of all time. It was called the Resistance of the Americas, and it was taught by a professor at York University. Her name was Andrea Davis, and it had the entire course was basically teaching us the history of the Black diaspora in America. Right. So, as I was growing up, middle school, elementary school, high school, I got the whitewashed version of like, North American history. There were slaves here. Yeah. They were slaves for a bit. They got freed, emancipation. Everybody's happy now. When I took her course, it was honestly the most reading I'd ever done in a course, which at the time I was like, yo, this is so many books. I'm trying to hoop. I got to hit the weight room. I got to go to practice twice a day. You want me to read all these books? In retrospect, man, like, she put me onto so much knowledge. It was crazy. Like, I was learning things that I had no idea had actually happened. So everything I'm seeing now, based on the course that I took with her in 2004, like, I've already seen it all now because she showed it to me. And then hence I was knowledgeable of it. And so I started, seeing it myself. I started doing my own research. So everything that's coming out now, I'm like, yeah, I've been telling some of my friends about this for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So everything that's happening now to me, I'm just like, it's about time people started to acknowledge it. One of my fears with all the media attention that it's getting, I feel like people are giving it a lot of lip service and not true intent. Like, people are saying, oh, you know what? It's better to get ahead of this and say we support this movement instead of actually taking action to legitimately support it. It's easy to say, yeah, we stand with Black people, or we stand with this movement, or we stand for, non-racism. But it's like, okay, in 3 months, are you going to feel that way? In 6 months, are you going to feel that way? In 2 years, are you going to feel that way? It's easy to say it now because you have to say it now, because to not say it now is like an overt act of like, yeah, I don't fuck with you. Excuse my language. Yeah. You don't fuck with you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be curious, like, not now. Everybody's hype on it. That's cool. I respect it. I appreciate it. I want to see how everybody feels in 6 months,
Mm.
right? If Trump is out of power, are people still going to be keeping the same energy, right? Because it doesn't matter if it's Trump in power or Biden in power, whoever, is the energy going to be the same, right? That's what I'm curious to see. So,
Yeah, that's dope. And I've been talking to a lot of community leaders as well as other individuals, and that's the one thing that I was
peace.
stressing. That's the one thing I was stressing as well is like, I think that the false, I mean the reality we're living in right now is like, 3 months from now there'll be another Trayvon Martin story, and people will forget about George Floyd,
Right.
and that's pretty sad to say, but it's just the reality.
It's
And I think
reality.
with
100%
this
right.
with this whole Black Lives Matter stuff, it's now that we start to put things in place, get bills passed, and invoke things and empower with congressmen, and
Zero Wagwan.
I mean,
My
and get
bad,
a
my
lot.
bad. Thing.
I get a lot of people to really put pressure on these politicians to really make some real change.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel like a lot of the people are doing, like you said, the politically correct answer. We stand with Black people now, and
Right.
stuff like that. So, as a Black man, brother to brother, if I was going to ask you, what are ways as a Black person that we can enrich our, Black community through this time? What are some ways or plans or strategies you can kind of put in place?
To me, like the number one thing is education. Like education at the most fundamental, as the most fundamental standpoint is so important because like when you educate, other minority kids, other Black kids, they now know the systems that they're going to face, the places that they're going to go into, right? A lot of times when we were growing up, we weren't told that. We were kind of like talked around it,
Mm.
but we weren't like just tell kids explicitly like, hey, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't have XYZ in order, right? You're already at a disadvantage. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have all your ducks in a row just to even walk into that room. As sad as that is to say, that's the reality. You have to have all your ducks in a row just to even walk into a room to be respected the same as somebody else who may not have all their ducks in a row. But you can't then use that as an excuse, you not having all your stuff in order to say, yo, they discriminated me.
Mm.
Because it's going to happen anyways. So you have to do what you can personally to be ready. And then, that's going into other people's organizations. What we need to do is create our own organizations where we're providing opportunities for our youth,
Mm.
right? Where we can actually create equity and wealth and knowledge and teaching that we can pass along. You know what I'm saying? Go around the city. You see Jewish schools, you'll see Arabic schools, you see Chinese schools, you'll see South Korean schools. How many Black schools we have? One, right? I think it's one. And it
Yeah.
got how much publicity because it was never a thing. We had one. So we have to give ourselves our own opportunities before we go out and say, hey, you're not giving me an opportunity. Let's create our own.
Mm.
Why can't we? We're educated. We have wealth. We have money. Let's create our own things, our own businesses, our own schools that we can actually, go and say, hey, you know what? Twin's running this business. I'll go buy it from him.
Yeah.
Two's doing that. I'll go work with him.
Yeah.
And when we deal with each other, be professional. It's not good enough to say, oh, I'm going to support a Black business. Well, you know what? Your Black business better be as good as that white business or that Chinese business or that Jewish business or that Korean business. There should be no drop off in quality or
Hmm.
productivity, right?
Yeah.
Don't tell me just to support to support. You better be on point,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's crazy. I was talking to Anthony a couple weeks about it, and he said the same thing. As if we want to get through these times and find ways to combat what's going on, if you know somebody that has, that's a real estate guy, for an example, you go there. A barber, you go there, hair salon, like what I mean. But at the same time, like you said, it's just because it's your friend. Don't expect just to support without delivering on the other end.
Facts.
I mean, you got to
Facts.
really deliver, that tangible gift for
Yeah,
the service. You get what I'm saying?
of course.
So I honestly feel it's really important for, guys like us to really, come together and put things in place, because I feel like, for a guy like you got the best of the OG generation and a little bit of the new school, and you have that connection, you know, And I always say it like, you know, the younger generations now, sometimes a guy like me, they may not want to hear it, you know, but if it's a guy that looks like them, like you, and you're talking about experiences, let's just say hooping, you know,
Yep.
telling kids, hey, you got to work hard, take shit serious, you know, sometimes they may be looking at a guy like you and being like, oh, like who is this guy? You know, not knowing the history, you know. But a
Right.
guy like me, for an example, I've done my history. I done studied, you know, the guys that kind of paved the way for me and opened the door and shedded a light, you know. So I think it's, you know, like you said, it's very important to open the door and send the elevator back down to the youth and to the generation, but to show them there's different ways that we can kind of collaborate and come together and create new things for the future.
No, and I agree with that point 100% because you know, like I have a ton of friends that are still involved in the game and you know,
Mm,
they coach, they train. I still want to be a part of the game, but like, you know, I've stepped away from that because I've put
mm.
so much time into that already. Like I got to focus on other things now.
Yeah.
But, you know, I often will go to practices, go to seminars, they'll ask me to speak. And like one of the things I always tell kids is like use the game because the game's going to use you. The game chews up every man and spits them out. There's another toot around the corner. There's another twin around the corner. You know what I'm saying? It chews us up, spits us out. So what do you take from the game, right? In my perspective, I'm like, all right, I got education through the game. I've traveled the world through the game. I've met these incredible people through the game, right? The game is always going to use us. We have to make sure as athletes we use the game as well.
Mm. That's dope. That's dope. It's crazy. You know, when you look at, you know, professional athletes now, I think the one thing that really kind of opens my eyes to bigger opportunities now is just seeing a lot of athletes diversify themselves. You know, you look at guys like Kevin Durant and, you know, LeBron James, who've done a phenomenal job being, you know, businessmen, you know, aside from being great athletes, you know. So, you know, when you look at guys in the NBA, you know, who are some guys that you admire that are great entrepreneurs as well?
Man, um, right now, you know, LeBron has to top that list for sure. I mean, again, I'm a Kobe guy. I'm a Kobe guy, right? But LeBron's business acumen off the court is, I mean, it's almost unparalleled, man. Like to see that live, right? Like you got guys like Shaq, who's done incredible things off the court. Jordan, obviously, with Jordan Brand, but like the way LeBron has positioned himself and even his team around him, how he's built those guys up and given those guys opportunities, which they're now thriving in. And this is what we were just talking about like 5 minutes ago is providing the opportunity, right? Think of how many people were mad at Rich Paul because LeBron put him on, right? LeBron could have easily went to any other agent. He said, you know what? Nah, I'm going to put my man's on.
Mm.
Rich Paul, be professional, which he's done. And now look at his client list, right?
Yeah,
Now look at what he's doing for people. But he would have never got that opportunity without LeBron, right? And I like that's the kind of thing I respect like so much because he was in a position of power and he said, you know what, I'm gonna uplift my people that are around me.
yeah,
And if you look at his close circle of friends, they're doing incredible. And like to me, that is real leadership. That is a real example of how you build.
yeah, for sure. And it's crazy because, you know, the other guys in another, like if I look at another entrepreneur, you know, mogul outside of LeBron, I look at Jay-Z. He's that guy that did the same type of chess move at building with the people he came up with and providing opportunity. And you see guys like, you know, Biggs and Dame Dash and, you know, Vegas Jones and these other guys and, you know, Lenny S and a lot of these guys under the Rock Nation emblem,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
that build it with Jay-Z for
yeah.
10, 15 years and, you know, providing opportunity for visible minorities and people that come from the inner city communities. And, you know, it's dope, man. You know, and I seen LeBron actually started something with his Spring Hill Entertainment. I think they did a merger with them and his uninterrupted platform. So they're doing a lot
He's
of like,
got so much going on, man.
yeah,
Is
bro. It's
like
yeah,
he got so much going on. It's crazy. It's
yeah,
crazy.
man. But it's definitely refreshing to see, bro, because you know a lot of people just you know study the athletes for the sheer grace that they bring on the hardwood, man. But you know, I
Hmm.
think it's always great to kind of tap into the other side. You know, it makes you a little bit more unique. and it just shows that it's possible. You know what I mean? I think there's been a lot of stigma for athletes, and we all probably faced it, where people just look at you for the things you can do on the court and not the things you can offer. So whenever I always see young individuals and athletes that are now tapping into various things, man, it's very dope, man. It's very refreshing to see, bro. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
With the NBA about to restart and everything, and when those reports came out of Kyrie Irving kind of leading a coalition to say like we shouldn't play,
Mm.
because of what's going on in America. Like, how did you feel about that? Like, how did you take that situation? Like, what were your thoughts?
Well, there's two sides to that. The first initial reaction I got was like, I've always known Kyrie Irving to, wear his emotions on his sleeves, and being a guy that, is really going to speak from the heart, and it's not the tone of how he's saying it, but what he's saying. So, I really, I can't really undermine the guy for, if that's what he wants to advocate for. Is that
Here,
something?
wait. Let me rephrase. Let me say just okay. Take Kyrie out of it. Just
Kyrie,
that sentiment of like, hey, should we play or not play? Is more what I wanted to ask you. Like, it wasn't about Kyrie.
well, I definitely think that they should, for the whole NBA as an organization and the reach globally that they have, I think that they have that platform to, express real change. So I think that basketball and all sports should take a halt. I think there's a bigger revolution that we're facing, especially being in a predominantly an American city, as in like New York or, Philly and stuff for that matter. So I honestly feel like sports should take a halt, and use their platforms to, dish out, more educational content for that matter, and history behind sports, and, trying to bring the culture to not be segregated, but to, come together. So I definitely, did stand on Kyrie Irving's stance because I feel him, but then again, I think for guys like me and you, I think the NBA does give them a lot of opportunity to speak and express themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I,
Yep.
I, I seen that they're going to start to, I think they're going to put like Black Lives Matter on
Yeah.
certain jerseys. I seen the Raptors practice bus put it on there too. So, I think it's an amazing time in sports, bro. I think it's, giving a lot of guys, the opportunity to kind of speak up and show that true side of, coming together and equality for everybody. You know what I mean?
hmm
Yeah. How do you think the NBA is going to kind of, be going forward with the whole quarantine stuff and social distances? Do you think there'll be like live games anymore, or, how do you think it's going to be ran this season?
Honestly, man, I have no idea, man. I can't even try to give you like a synopsis of what I think is going to happen because they switch things up on a whim. You know, one day it might be no fans, one day it might be 25%, and in 2 months it might be stadium full. So I have no idea. I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna try to guess. I'm not even gonna
Yeah,
try.
it's crazy to me to really picture a sporting event with no fans, like, like
Yo, did you see the tournament's back, and they played like last week. You
for
know the tournament, the $1 million tournament.
oh, the TBT. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They have
So I
that.
I watched that for a bit, right? Like I didn't even know it was on. I put it on. I turned on TV. I saw it on. I was like, yo, this is on. And like I was watching that game, and I'm like, yo, this is how the NBA game is gonna be. Like that's crazy,
Damn, bro.
you
Yeah,
know.
man, it's different.
However, like I would be like super interested to like. I highly doubt they would ever do it, but if they actually played like the in-game audio to like hear guys talking on defense, hear what kind of trash guys are talking, like to me that would add like a completely different perspective to the game, right? Which they have the opportunity to do now because like you're missing a whole bunch of stuff. So hey,
Yeah,
maybe give us this, like you know, leave the mic on, let us hear them. You know what I'm saying? Put it on a 3 second delay. So if guys are cursing up the place, you can block it out. But like let us hear what's going on the court. That
yeah,
that would be that would be
yeah.
dope
That'd
in
be
my
dope.
opinion.
Still, yeah. It's crazy because like I don't know, bro. The last game I seen was Giannis, bro, versus the Raptors. So it's like I can't picture like watching. Not to say I don't watch games like at the comfort of my own home, man. But it's just different, bro, when you're there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
of
It's
course.
just it's different, and like the whole NBA Finals atmosphere. Like, how is it gonna be the same with no fans? Like
Word,
you're celebrating on an empty court.
word,
It just
word.
yeah, man. It still doesn't
It's,
feel real, bro.
right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, yeah. It's still awkward. It's still weird. Like it's not something I want to get used to. So
yeah, bro.
I'll treat it for now as an anomaly.
Yeah, yeah. I know you're a big soccer guy, bro. How do you feel about the Premier League and the Champions League? Like, I know that's back, right?
Hey man, yo, like I got into soccer when I was overseas. Like, my dad was a professional soccer player.
Oh, dope, bro.
Yeah, before we came here, right? So he was always a soccer guy, and like he never like pushed me to play soccer, but like he had that in his bag. He was like, "Yo, man, if you don't like it, you don't like it. Cool. You want to play basketball? Do your thing."
Yeah, for sure.
But and so I never really was a fan until like I went over there. And so when you're over there, like the games are in real time. It's not like here where you're watching a game at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah,
Like they're like prime time. It's like ESPN game, and like the bars is lit, everywhere is lit, everybody's
yeah.
ready to watch the game. And so like I steadily became a fan, man, and yeah, it's just stuck with me since then.
Dope, bro. What are your favorite clubs, I guess, or like players?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but I'm an Arsenal guy.
Oh, you're Arsenal guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay. I have a couple
yeah,
Man U fans in here, so
yeah.
might have to change the subject, bro.
Yeah, yeah, I'm an Arsenal guy, so yeah, that's why I said I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, bro. I definitely need to experience a live soccer game, bro, in my lifetime too, bro. Like, I definitely want to go to like a Barcelona game, PSG for sure. I know it gets lit out there and Paris Saint Germain, so definitely need to take
Yo,
it.
what's crazy? A lot of those teams come and play at TFC. Like we've had PSG come here, we've had Benfica, we've had Real Madrid, we've had Tottenham, we've had Roma, we've
What?
had yeah, man. Yeah. My
Oh,
wife worked for MLSE, right? So I
oh,
know. So I get tickets. Like we've
yeah,
had
bro.
some big time teams here, bro.
That's sick, bro.
We've
I
had
never
some
even
big
knew
time
that because
teams
I
here.
thought it was just the league, right, the MLS. But then they do
No,
do the
no, it is.
CONCACAF.
They don't play in the league, right? Because MLS season runs different from theirs, so they come as like an exhibition game,
Okay, okay.
like
Yeah.
as like as a precursor to their like kind of how like the European teams come play the NBA
Oh,
teams at the
like
beginning of the
preseason and
season.
stuff.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. Dope,
yeah,
bro. That's sick. Yeah, yeah. Soccer is nice, bro. It's very like I like the culture behind it, bro. You know what I mean? How like you go to like it's like a religion. Like Sunday, they're there, front and center, bars, the whole street.
word.
The brawls. Like it's different, bro.
It is, but that's there's positive parts of that and there's negative parts of it.
Oh,
But
okay.
definitely the atmosphere, at least, it's like it's embedded. I can say that. But their entire structure of how the teams are built is completely different than here,
Oh, okay.
which like I think like gets glossed over. Kind of like here in North America, pretty much all the teams are owned by like somebody that's mega rich, a mega rich owner, a mega rich corporation. Where there, like soccer teams will be owned by the town. Like you could have a Pickering team and they could be in the Champions League, and it's owned by the actual people of Pickering, not like one owner. Like they
Oh,
all pay for it.
that's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah. So like if you look at the German Bundesliga, you can't have an owner that owns more than 49% of a team
Okay.
because then he'd be the majority owner and then he could win all the votes. So they
Oh,
don't allow that. It's
so it's
like
minority.
multiple people have to own this, so that way like one person can't come in and buy it, and it keeps the game authentic, and it keeps it keeps balance, even
Yeah.
though Bayern Munich kills everybody in
Yeah, yeah.
Dortmund.
I guess too,
So
there's no conflict of interest at that point too, right? Okay. Dope, dope, man. So
to an
what's
extent,
so another question I was gonna ask you, I guess the future for professional sports. If you're a coach, what are things that you could implement for your players during COVID? Like what are, strategies that you can kind of implement as a coach to your players during, this, pandemic that we're facing?
um, I think like during a time like this, the biggest thing that you can offer, your players is like the discipline, because to me that's one of the biggest things. Is like, all right, I'm your coach, but And it goes into all aspects of life. Like, what do you do when I'm watching you? What do you do when I'm not watching you? Right now in COVID, the coach can't watch you, right? So if you want to be better, it's on you to get better, right? So coaches can provide like advice and stuff, but now it really boils down to what the players want to do, right? Like, do you want to put in that time when without having somebody yell at you to do it, right? Are you willing to do that? Like when I was hooping, dude, I could be in the gym by myself. I'll be running by myself. Nobody has to be there with me,
Mm.
right? And I think during this situation, you're going to find out which guys actually want to do it and which guys don't, because there's nobody there to hold your hand. It's either you want it or you don't want it. You know?
Yeah, and it's crazy because, I can't really picture it, but like imagine, being a multimillionaire too. You're in the NBA, you have everything you've ever dreamed of and more. You know, what is that ethic? Like, how are you going to continue to go at it and continue to work even harder when you finally made it? You know what I mean? And I kind of see that like a lot of NBA players, they get into the league, they have that hunger, they get their contract, boom, and then you can kind of see they kind of like, I'm good now, you know.
Yeah.
So where
Yeah.
does that ethic come from for you personally?
I mean, it depends, man. Everybody grows up different, man. Like you can have guys that grow up in the greatest family upbringing and they have everything given to them and they're still the hardest worker. They're still going to outwork everybody. And then you can have guys that have never had a thing given to them, have to walk to practice, run to practice, go to practice hungry, and they're still the hardest worker. And then they got to walk home, right? It to me, it's not like nature makes somebody work hard or not work hard. You know what I'm saying? It's like hard work is taught, in my opinion. You can
Wow,
teach someone how to work hard,
wow,
in my opinion. You can teach someone how to work hard because a lot of times people don't know how to work hard. They think they're working hard until they see somebody working hard, right? You ever notice that in the game? Like you think you're guarding a guy, and it's like, yo, you ain't guarding him, twin. Like this is how I need you to guard him. Like you ever
oh,
play in a game and your coach gets mad at you and yells at you, and then you turn like you flip a switch because you're mad now,
mm,
and then the coach says, yo, why don't you play like that all the time?
yeah, 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 you're right.
You know what I'm saying? You can teach these things, right? Except if you're teaching it, you shouldn't have to be mad to flip that switch, right? You can actually, like, you can teach leadership. You can teach people how to work hard. That's it's not an innate skill. That can be something that's taught, 100% in my opinion, 100%. And that's something that coaches sometimes get away from. Like demand the hard work, but they'll always say they demand it. But if you score 30, then they don't care if you work hard all the time. I've had coaches that you can score 50 and you slack for one play, sub. You can score zero, you never slack, you play. Right? So now like, okay, this is how I have to play. Like this is the bare minimum. This is the bare minimum for me to be on the court. But
Yeah,
they have to stay true to that, which a lot of coaches don't. So
yeah, because there's a lot of favoritism and politics and stuff like that. You know how it goes.
of course. But that's life.
Yeah, for sure. But I just wanted you to talk a little bit about like, fatherhood, and obviously now raising a son during these times of systemic racism, man. Do you ever, have fears or, a little worries about, raising him and explaining, things that are going on during these times and, talking to him about racism and things like that of that magnitude?
I mean, I wouldn't even say it's fear, like because my pops used to have these conversations with me as a young buck. And so to me, like the most important thing is to let them know. So he has the knowledge of any situation he steps into, he's not going into foreign territory. You know what I'm saying? I want him to know like, hey, this could happen here. It might not make sense to you, but this could happen here. Like be aware. I want him to have knowledge, I want him to have awareness. I mean, I'm gonna teach him to be a good person. To me, respect, trust is never given, it's lost, right? If I meet somebody, you automatically, like, sorry, I automatically trust and respect you. You have to lose that from me. It could take you 2 seconds to lose it, but I gave it to you initially. You have it already. It could take you 2 seconds to lose it, right? If I came in the room and I seen you, twin, I'd be like, yo, I have no reason to not respect him or trust him.
Mm.
But within, I could hear you say one sentence and it'll be gone. I'll be like, yep, don't like how he's moving. I'm
Yeah.
cool. You know what I'm saying? But I'll never be like, he has to earn my respect or
Oh,
earn my trust.
yeah, like, you gotta earn. Okay,
You
okay.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But don't mean you can't lose it quickly. So I'm gonna teach him to respect everybody, treat everybody proper. But as soon as somebody don't treat you properly or treat him the way he should be treated, then you don't respect him either. Done.
Thanks. Yeah, and
Done deal.
I think that's the importance. I think, as a father, you really gotta, teach, but also gotta, I think it's really important to teach young black men, really stand up for themselves and never feel, disgruntled or, feel like they can't express themselves, because I think as black men, we kind of express ourselves in different ways through, art or sports or music and things of that matter, but don't ever let anybody try to make you feel a certain way because of where you come from or how you were raised or the color of your skin. I don't think that should fly on any day.
Yeah.
I think it's
And
important.
and to me that like again that touches back on like the education
Yeah,
standpoint, like
yeah.
because like I've met so many people in my life and that strangely enough they're always like, yo, you're like so confident, like how are you so confident? I'm like, it doesn't register to me because I never even
Mm-hmm.
like I'm smart, I'm educated,
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna be ignorant. Like I respect people, you respect me, like I treat you properly. Like why would I not be confident? And so like one of the big largest things I want to do for my son is like make sure he's confident in himself because people will always try to tear you down. Like in respect, when I think about when I was growing up as a kid, like there was so much stuff people would say to me where like if I wasn't confident, like that could change me.
Yeah, for sure.
That could change me 100%. But like my parents were always like, yo, you're smart. Like keep doing what you're doing. Like you're great. You're beautiful.
Yeah,
You're dark. Like
yeah.
you're incredible. And that always stuck with me, not what other people said.
Mm.
And in retrospect, I'm like, yo, that was so important because like especially when you're a kid, like
Yeah,
you're a sponge, man. Like, and if people are feeding you negative energy, you'll accept that negative energy. But if you go home and you're getting positive energy all the time, that's what you permeate. So that negative energy is like, yo, you breeze that. You're like, you know,
for sure. That affirmation is everything, bro. You know that. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Especially growing up in the inner city where you're around negativity and things of that matter, man. If you're
Mhm.
you grow up in a good strong home, a good foundation, you can kind of make it and weather the storms, you know? So we're just gonna turn into our last, kind of segment. I always end off with, what are, a message that you have to the youth. If you're talking to your younger self, what is the advice you would give yourself?
Oh man, too many to be honest. There's so many. Like yeah, there's so many messages, man. One of the biggest things I would say is like when you're younger, like when I was in high school or middle school, you think like an investment in yourself that might take 8 months is a long ass time, but you look back now and you're like, yo, that's nothing. Or doing your homework for 30 minutes before you go hoop or go out with your boys, like that's nothing. You know what I mean? It's like everybody always wants like, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. Procrastinate, procrastinate, procrastinate. Just take care of like the fundamentals, man, and make sure you put yourself in a position that you can succeed later on in life, you know? Like
Yeah,
put yourself in a position where you can live a quality life.
for
I
sure.
mean, honestly, the question's so broad, like I could probably talk for an hour
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
No,
like,
but
yo,
like just,
I don't even know where to like start
yeah, for
on that
sure. But
question,
just,
man. I could
just like the gist of the narrative is just like, never hold off on yourself. You know what I mean? And always, like you said, invest in yourself, set yourself up, your foundation for years to come. And you're
and
doing.
and yeah, like picking who you associate yourself with as well. like goes a long way, man. It goes a long way because sometimes, some of the people you want to associate yourself with when you're younger seems like better at the time, but as you grow, you begin to learn like, yeah, I shouldn't be associating with these guys. Maybe I should go associate with these guys that are doing this. That's positive. That's going to benefit me later. This is going to benefit me now. Like, I'm going to hit the club. I'm going to get all these girls. But like this later, I'm going to be good. Right? Like, I was fortunate, man. I was fortunate enough. Like, my parents did a lot of things that kind of like shielded me from going in negative directions. Like, I wasn't allowed to go to school where I lived because my dad was like, nope, I know your friends. You're not going to school with them. Not a right? Which like I hated at the time. Like I hated at the time, but in retrospect, I'm like, yo, thank you.
Yeah, he was looking out.
Left. I could have went left 100%.
Yeah.
Probably would have.
Yeah.
Right? At the time, I hated him for it. Like I got to take a bus an hour to go to school. Like instead of walking to school, he's like, yo, you're not going to school here. And in retrospect, I'm like, yo, man, what up? Um, I was like, man, I'm so thankful that he had that foresight because he's like, yo, you might not like me for it now, but later you will realize why I'm doing this.
For sure.
And like I tell him that all the time. I'm like, yo, man, like, thank you for doing that for me because 100% I would have went left, 100%.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, bro. And it's crazy. It's paying off now, man. Like I said, I don't really get to see you enough, but yo, brother, man, you're doing an incredible job, bro, at your real estate, man. You got to give me your link on the suits, man. I got to get my suit game up, So,
hey, I have bro, I have connects, man. Hey, that's one thing I'll give basketball. I've met a ton of people. Um, so I have links like all over the place, man. And
dope, dope.
yeah, um,
Yeah, man. But
and they
yeah,
can also
bro,
reach out to me too. So like I keep the connection mutual.
for sure, for
It's
sure. But yeah, man, like I
nothing's
said,
one-sided.
yeah, for sure, bro. But I said, man, it's always a pleasure to, chop it up with you and see you doing great things, bro. Just continue to inspire us, bro, and lead our culture in the right direction, buddy. I'm, a great admirer from afar, bro. You've taught me valuable lessons, man. And thank you for joining us on our platform today and imparting your wisdom with us, brother. We truly appreciate it,
Hey
man.
man, thank you for having me, man. I'm seeing what you're doing. I love it. I've told you that multiple times. Um, and just keep growing, man. Like, so, I know we're supposed to end, but I'll just give you a story that I had
Yeah,
from a client of mine that hit me up. So he wanted some real estate. So I saw him last week. We saw a few properties, and he wanted to start his own business. And he started asking me like, hey, like, what should I do? Like, how should I start it? He's like, I got all this merchandise that I want to put out, but I don't have enough support. I said, bro, like you got to start somewhere. He was like, well, I'm not going to get like 100 people. I said, who cares if you don't get 100 people right away, right? You have to grow everything. And I see you doing these lives, and I see your culture talks and everything you put out on the internet. In like 3 years, people are gonna be like, yo, I want to do what Twin's doing. Because they're gonna think you got there like this, but you didn't get there like this. You've put in the time, but somebody's gonna see you in 3 years and be like, "Yo, I could do that," not knowing how much time you've put in, how much effort you've put in.
for sure.
And once you reach the goals that you want to get to, which you'll get to, I don't doubt that for a second. I hope you don't either, because you will get there.
Appreciate it,
You're
bro.
gonna look and be like, "Yo, I want to do that," not knowing how much work you've put in. So I'll leave you with that, man. Keep grinding, keep grinding, keep grinding, keep grinding, man.
All
Like
right, brother.
even in real